Number 3 brings up a slightly different problem. I have two different trigonometric functions. And so the way to kind of think about this, well, what do we start with? We start with a ratio, because it's going into an inverse trig function. That becomes an angle, and then that angle becomes a tangent ratio. So I start with a cosine ratio, that becomes an angle, and then that angle becomes a tangent ratio. So I could figure out what that angle is, but I actually don't need to. I can just sort of think about what that angle would look like on the unit circle, or like on a standard position. A cosine ratio of 1/2 means that the x position is half the size of the hypotenuse. Right? The adjacent side is half the size of the hypotenuse. So then, using the Pythagorean theorem, I know that this has to be the square root of 3. I know I'm in quadrant 1 because a cosine ratio, inverse cosine, can only be in quadrant 1 or quadrant 2, and since it's positive, it has to be in quadrant 1. And so I know this is the angle that I'm working with. I don't know exactly what measure it is. I kind of do, but we don't really need to know that it's 60 degrees. But what I can do is then figure out what tangent should be. And so tangent, of course, is y over x. And so the tangent of cosine inverse of 1/2 is the square root of 3. I can think of it as the square root of 3 over 1, or more simply just the square root of 3. Number 4